Hi there, this is Andrew Schoenberg for KSQD. ARIEL Theatrical is a Salinas nonprofit that offers year-round programs in theater arts for kids and teens. They produce 10 plays a year and have camps which include classes as well. My guests are Gail Higginbotham, ARIEL's founder and artistic director, and Heather Kirk, their executive director. Say I'm a child coming into your program. Tell us what happens.
You come into the program by registering. So one of the things that makes us a little unique from most theatrical endeavors is no one has to audition to be included in the show. We take registrations. Now there's a limit because the size of the stage and the nature of the program. Mm-hmm. So eventually it gets capped. But anyone that's within the right age for that particular show can register and be a part of the cast. Mm-hmm. So that they get registered and they show up on the first day, and we get to know them, and we have them do a little bit of singing, a little bit of acting exercises, a little bit of dancing. Mm-hmm. So we get a sense of where their skills are, how much support they're going to need, what their kind of steps they're prepared to take and can grow from. And then we cast the show and we get started.
Mm-hmm. So it's all about the shows. It's not like you're having separate classes like, acting 1 and acting 2 and dance.
We do have some what we call mini camps or mini class offerings on those rare nights when we don't have a rehearsal going on. Uh-huh. But basically our focus is performance because we want to give young people the whole experience from entering something that they know nothing about, meeting a new group of people, learning to take on responsibilities, and seeing it through to the end. So they learn how to eat an elephant one bite at a time, as the saying goes. Uh-huh. So they have that destination to work towards, and they can get that sense of fulfillment at having accomplished something. Mm-hmm. So we're very performance-oriented in that way.
Okay. And how long is the rehearsal process?
It depends on the program. So for our youngest children, when we have our beginning programs, they come to rehearsal for an hour and a half twice a week for 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. On a more comprehensive program, that's got a much more, but those are 20-minute shows. Mm-hmm. On a show that's going to be an hour and a half long, then they're in rehearsal Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays, for example, from 6 to 8, and then on Saturdays for 3 hours. So the number of rehearsal hours and days is relative to the complexity of the program.
Okay. And what ages do most of your participants come into your program? Or is that not relevant? I don't know.
No, we had a waiting list 60 kids deep for Charlie Brown Christmas, for example. So there's a huge interest in getting to the program, and it's largely among younger children, say between 5 and 11, where we see the largest number of people being signed up or getting on the waiting list. Mm-hmm. We have not as many teenagers, but there are some kids that start when they're 5, and they're still here when they're 15. Mm-hmm. They come back from college and work in the summers. And we have some kids that start at 15. We have kids that start at all ages. Mm-hmm. And the program is geared to consider anybody.
No experience necessary.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So whether you're one of those 5-year-olds that's ready to strut the stage and show your stuff, or you're a 15-year-old that's afraid to pick your head up and don't want to be seen, we figure out how to make it work for everyone.
Cool. So what age are your oldest participants, or are they? You have some things I think that have adults in them, yeah?
We do. So we've got college age kids through adults in the community shows.
Okay. And give us some examples of plays or shows that you've recently produced or that are coming up in the near future.
We're in rehearsal right now for an original production of Emperor's New Clothes. Mm-hmm. And like to Heather's point, it's got 2 kids that are 18 and 20 that grew up coming here and have gone away, gone to college, and are
they're back
doing shows. We have a young man that's in his 30s who started here as a 14-year-old, and he routinely anchors adult parts. And then we have 45 children also in the show. So that's what's in rehearsal right now. We just concluded a performance of Little Red Riding Hood, which had
cast 1,
and cast 2 is coming up this weekend, and each of those had 30 kids in it that were ages 5 to 11. Mm-hmm. So that's what's happening right now.
So typically you have 2 casts, and they alternate alternate performance?
In the beginning programs, because there's such a high demand, we have two separate casts, but they are two separate groups. So one performs the whole weekend. They have 3 performances for their weekend, and then the following weekend, the other cast has theirs. In our other programs, we don't have a double cast situation. Our rehearsal schedules are so lean that it takes all those minutes to get one cast ready to go.
I see. Okay. And what's the mix as far as musicals and non-musicals and comedies? And I don't know if dramas is the right word, but
it's
non-comedies.
almost all musical. I mean, it's all musicals.
Everything that we do is a musical because our focus is on the entire group. So we look for pieces, or we look for pieces that we can legally expand so that the ensemble is involved in very meaningful ways. So it's not about these are the named characters and they have all the stage time, and every once in a while the ensemble shows up. Our focus is making sure that every child is used in a meaningful way throughout the show. So that's very difficult to do in a play that's not a musical because it's restricted to the people that need to talk, tell the story. But in a musical, you can have a lot more people singing the songs and engaged in the musical numbers. So almost without exception, the programs that we do are musicals.
And that makes it really fun for the audiences to have an ensemble that's so actively involved in the storytelling, because parents that have their children on stage at ARIEL, they feel like they really get to see their child perform. They're not just coming in for one line and then leaving. They're there and performing and singing and on stage a lot. So it's really important to have every child be an important part of the show.
While we were off mic, you mentioned something about The Wizard of Oz. Why don't you tell us?
It's a show that we do every few years in one of our summer camp programs. So the children are here from 9 to 3 for 3 weeks, Monday through Friday, and then they put on this fully mounted Wizard of Oz. And we usually have about 60 kids in it. And so opening scene, almost all those 60 kids are seen in their Munchkin costumes, and they do the whole Munchkin number. They leave the stage. 5 minutes later, they're back out in whatever trees or bees or buzzing bees they're playing in the jitterbug forest, and then they exit, and 5 minutes later they come back in a whole different costume where they're skeletons and bats and ghosts in the witches' castles, and they do this huge dance macabre number. Then they leave, and then they come back 5 minutes later and they're all in their greens for the Emerald City, and so on it goes.
Wow, a lot of costumes.
It's quite a production. The costume room is very busy, and our costume mistress she's got her hands full with that one.
We're in your theater, and you have a very elaborate and impressive facility. Tell us a little bit about this theater.
Our space, we have stadium seating for 234. We do have the actors use the full theater. They do a lot of aisle work up over the crossover, so the audience is immersed in the performance and they feel part of the show, which adds a lot to the excitement and just being able to lose yourself in the story. We've got rehearsal space all over the building, in our lobby, in the theater. Downstairs we have a dance room and a green room, and we have a downstairs lobby. So when we have large shows with large casts, they're able to break up by age group or by ensemble pieces and work on individual parts of the show in an efficient way all at once all over the building. So we utilize every space, every bit of the building for storage, rehearsal, offices, anything, production work, and everything. Yeah.
And you're at 320 Main Street in Salinas, so you're right in the downtown Salinas.
Correct. We're Old Town, Salinas City Center. It's known by many titles.
In case you've just tuned in, you're listening to KSQD, Community Radio for all of the Monterey Bay, on 90.7, 89.7, and 89.5 FM, and streaming at ksqd.org. I'm Andrew Schoenberg, and we're talking about ARIEL Theatrical, a Salinas nonprofit that offers theater opportunities for kids and teens. My guests are Gail Higginbotham, ARIEL's founder and artistic director, and Heather Kirk, their executive director. Gail, tell us a little bit about your background and how you created this theater.
I grew up doing theater in Los Angeles. My mother says I was putting on plays before I'd ever seen a play. That's just how my mind works. I see all the world as entrances and exits, and everything is a costume piece or a prop. I married, and my husband had an Army assignment, and we were sent to Fort Ord. So we landed here in Salinas, and then we ended up staying here. By that point, I had several children, and I wanted to take them to see shows, and there wasn't really anything to take my kids to, and there just didn't seem like there was anything around. And my church asked me to put on a show for them, and it just kind of all of a sudden I was doing plays for children out of my house and finding some place to rehearse. And so that people kept asking for more. There was a huge interest in it, and so I tried to figure out, with a little bit of help, what to do. And that was those were those vagabond years I talked about, because we had no resources. There was no money. I was just a mom of 5 kids.
Demand was there.
The demand was there, but it takes millions of dollars to get a building or to have a place to be. So it evolved with lots of people being interested and concerned and wanting to help. And dollar by dollar, we finally raised the money to be here. And we wanted to have a space of our own because we wanted to create an environment. Having been in Los Angeles and seen the underside of theater, which is not as attractive as we'd like it to be sometimes. And
especially for children.
Yeah, and so having been in that world, I wanted to create a place where all that is good and transcendent and powerful and transformative about theater could happen without the junk.
And what do you mean by the junk?
Where people can feel that it's a safe space. Where I grew up, the directors always yelled at you they yelled at you and they called you names, and there was a lot of profanity and stuff like that. And I don't really think I don't think that's really healthy for children. And so I wanted to create a place where it didn't have that, where we did material that's uplifting. And when Handel was complimented at the premiere of his Messiah, and people said, "Oh, it was so entertaining," he said, "I'd be sorry if I only entertained them. I had hoped to make them better." And for me, that's what theater is about. It's not just about entertaining. It's about having to make them better, making the people involved in it better, making the audience better because of the experience that they had. So that was a driving thing in us creating a place where we had an environment that they could feel like was a second home for them, and that they were safe to come here, and they would all... when there's a problem, we deal with it, but we deal with it in terms of, all right, this behavior isn't really working. What's a better choice? And so how do we teach them to? We teach them to be respectful by modeling respect. We teach them to be accountable by modeling accountability, and then expecting that from them. And so that's what we were trying to accomplish. And enough people believed in that mission that got us here.
So your website states that you feel that the finest productions aren't your plays, but the responsible young people who come together in a positive, collaborative spirit to learn, perform, and share experiences that they will carry with them for a lifetime. And your plays are chosen to impart themes and messages essential to character development. What else do you do to foster growth in a positive way?
Well, we start every contact, whether it's a rehearsal or a performance day, with what we call an ARIEL moment. And we have a quote or a story. One of our ones that's most frequently repeated by kids when they come back and say what about their experience here is, "I can do hard things." We tell a story about a child, true story, that was really bullied, belittled, ridiculed at school. And it just, finally she came home, cried, said, "I can't do it anymore. It's too hard." And her mother didn't say, "Oh, it's not that bad." And her mother didn't say, "It'll be better tomorrow." She said, "You're right. It's hard. It's really hard. But you can do hard things." And the little girl learned to do the hard thing, which was to not let who she was be determined by how other people treated her. So we talk about that. We couch everything in those sorts of things. We talk about live in such a way that if someone were to speak badly of you, no one would believe it. Excellence is never an accident. So there's always a quotation or a story, and then how does that apply to the work we need to do today to get the show done? How does that apply when you're outside of here? How do you apply that at home? How do you apply that at school, at work?
And ARIEL is an acronym. It stands for accountability, respect, integrity, excellence, and leadership. And those 5 principles we teach, we model, as Gail said, the staff. We don't just talk the talk, we walk the walk. We embody those principles so that when kids are here, they can see them in action all the time. And so they're encouraged to also practice those principles, whether they're on stage or off. And they find that by implementing those things and having those part of who they are and part of what they do, they're better performers. They become better friends. They become better students. It permeates their entire lives. And so that's, our mission is to help young people learn to lead principle-centered lives. And so that's really our goal. The musical theater part, that's our springboard. That's the platform from which we teach all of these principles and help kids build personal character while they're creating characters on stage.
Great. Okay. Wish I had that when I was growing up.
We do our best to capture feedback from participants and from parents, anybody involved in our program. Last summer, my office is in a location where I can overhear the morning meetings before summer camp begins, and they do a meeting with the group leaders or the youth leaders that are there helping, and the group leaders, the teen kids that are there to help with the summer camp. Mm-hmm. And just what I overheard, they asked the kids, "What does being a leader mean to you?" And I jotted this down at my desk because I was eavesdropping, listening to see what they would say. And these were kids, sophomores and juniors in high school. One said, "Being a leader is not just doing what you're told to do, but looking for what needs to be done." Another one said, "You're not a leader just to be on top or in the front of the line, but leaders provide structure." Another great one, "Notice problems before you're assigned to them," and "guiding rather than bossing around." So these are teens that really are understanding what it means to be a leader, and they're in our youth leadership program, and they're getting it. Those were the answers to the mm-hmm. To the question of what it means to be a leader. Mm-hmm. We've got people that write notes and letters. Gail gets a ton of cards in the mail thanking her for thank you for her and our directors for all that they do to help their kids grow and learn, and they're amazed. One recently wrote, "Thank you so much for such a wonderful program. It felt great. I felt great about having her there. It's obvious how much you all care about the kids, and I love how you try to teach them about more than just theater. Caring about character and virtue seems so rare these days." Mm. So parents notice that we do things a little differently, and we have we put emphasis on principles rather than just performance all the time.
In case you've just tuned in, you're listening to KSQD, Community Radio for all of the Monterey Bay, on 90.7, 89.7, and 89.5 FM, and streaming at ksqd.org. I'm Andrew Schoenberg, and we're talking about ARIEL Theatrical, a Salinas nonprofit that offers theater opportunities for kids and teens. My guests are Gail Higginbotham, ARIEL's founder and artistic director, and Heather Kirk, their executive director. Say I'm a family with kids and I don't have a child in your program. Is it likely that we'd enjoy your shows?
100%. In fact, that's what we suggest and encourage families to bring their kids to the shows before they even participate, or even if they're not sure if they're interested in being in a show. When they come to see our shows, they kind of see what we do. And I would say most of the time, kids in the audience are interested in learning more and even being on stage. So it's perfect for families. Our ticket prices are low. We invite the entire community. We encourage families with young kids to bring their little kids to enjoy the shows. We don't, like a lot of bigger theaters, they don't want to have little kids because they can maybe be a little squirrely, but kids are pretty locked in when they see little kids that are just maybe a year or two older than them on stage performing. It really fascinates them and gets them really interested.
And how about adults without kids? Might plays that are done by your most senior students be interesting and entertaining for them?
Absolutely. We have some lovely older couples that don't have any children. Some of them never had any children, but for some reason, they showed up at one performance, and years later, they're still coming every time they can. They are very engaged by what they see, mm-hmm. and they're moved by, we have people that come to see when we do Fiddler on the Roof that can't leave. They are so touched by this experience. I can remember this elderly couple saying, "You just told my grandparents' story." Mm. Tears streaming down their face, and just there's a transcendence that can occur in theater when people can forget their own lives, that they're sitting in a brown seat in a room and get caught up in the lives of that are being portrayed on the stage, and the human crises, the human drama that's unfolding for them. Mm-hmm. It's very meaningful. Mm.
And I think people are often surprised at the high quality, the high caliber of performance that we present. Some people think they're just going to come see little kids lined up and singing and doing, very simple moves, but they come and they're really blown away. And we've heard many audience members leave and they said, I had no idea that you did this here.
What shows do you have coming up this spring?
Well, we've got a really full lineup. Like Gail said, we're busy and programs overlap. So coming up, we've got The Emperor's New Clothes, and that opens on March 13th, and that runs for 2 weekends and a Thursday. And then Merlin's Apprentice opens May 8th, and that's a brand new musical to Ariel. We've never done this one. It's going to be really fun. Fun for the whole family, and it's got a cast age, I think, 10 and up?
10 and up.
10 and up for that one. And then the end of May, Beloved Chicken Little will be here.
Oh, Beloved Chicken Little.
Yes.
Is that the name of it?
No, just Chicken
It's the
Little.
beloved children's story. It's not,
I
it's not
see.
the movie version.
Well,
Right.
Most people like chicken, I guess.
Yeah.
It's one of our beginning programs, so it's our littlest kid.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So those are our spring performances before summer hits. And then we've got our camp shows and community shows.
Oh, yes. Let's talk about your camp or camps.
Yeah. So camps, we've got 1, 2, and 3 week sessions. Our 1 week session is called Kids on Stage, and it's kind of an introduction to musical theater. They have a dancing component, acting, and singing. So kids get kind of exposed to all of those different parts of musical theater. And then at the end of the week, they get to do a showcase for friends and family. So it's not a full show, but it's a great performance for the families. 2-week camp this year is going to be Disney The Jungle Book Kids. It's the show everybody knows based on it's like the Disney
It's Disney's
movie,
take on Jungle Book.
but it's, squeezed in between there is our community show, The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, and that's going to be kids, adults.
But it's primarily
massive
focused on
production.
young adults and
Yeah.
older teens. And so in order to be in it as a child, you have to be attached to an
adult or
older
teen.
person. So it's the one show a year that's not focused on younger children. And those are the ones where we do Fiddler on the Roof or
Joseph and the Amazing Technical Dreamcoat.
Those more complex, slightly more sophisticated material. And so Adventures of Tom Sawyer's got a wonderful score. It was done on Broadway. It's really quite a strong show. So that's sandwiched in that they rehearse at night while the day camps are going.
And are the camps here in this theater building?
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. And then our final camp, 3-week camp, is Disney Moana Junior.
Do you charge tuition for your students?
We do. It's like Gail said, it's enrollment based, so there is a tuition fee. It varies between program based on the length of time they're here, the engagement hours. So we do. Again, that's another one we try to keep as low as possible. Even the tuition does not really cover all the expenses for each child to participate. Therefore, we have a lot of business sponsors, local donors, foundations, people that support our programs for the purpose of serving the kids. So yeah, there is a tuition. It's affordable. We've heard from feedback from the parents that it is affordable. And we like to work with parents who maybe can't afford tuition. They often will do some trade for us, and we work with people to make sure they can participate if they want to. So about 50% of our funding is earned income. So ticket sales and our tuition and concessions, any kind of T-shirts we sell, any kind of Ariel swag. The other 50% approximately is privately funded through foundations, individual donors, business sponsors, just people that love what we do. They support our mission, and they see that it's a valuable thing to support, and they want to keep Ariel going for another 25 years on Main Street or longer.
If people want to find out more about your programs and upcoming shows, how do they do that?
They can go to our website, which is www.arieltheatrical.org. Make sure you get the org. We are a nonprofit, a 501c3 nonprofit. They can call us at 831-775-0976.
Repeat that, please.
831-775-0976. And they can even stop by and come and take a tour of the theater just to see what we're doing. We're always happy to chat with people and share a little bit more about our programs and performances and We've got things going all year round. We're very busy. So pretty much anytime someone comes by, there's going to be something happening in the theater. Saturdays on radio.
You're at 320 Main Street in Salinas.
Correct.
Great. All right. Well, thanks so much for doing this.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You've been listening to KSQD Santa Cruz, KSQT Prunedale, HQ'ed, community radio for all of the Monterey Bay. I'm Andrew Schoenberg. Thanks very much for listening.